The Judicial Service Commission is conducting interviews to fill vacant posts. On the 17th of May, the JSC published adverts calling for nominations to fill 24 vacancies at various superior courts across South Africa. These include the Supreme Court of Appeal, the Electoral Court, and several other judicial leadership positions. Our reporter Govan Whittles is there for us. A very good afternoon to you. The interview process is underway, and it's important that the Commission goes and finds the best candidates to fill a range of posts in the country's courts. Talk to us about some of the processes that were underway today.
Thank you. Well, they are underway, and at the moment we've taken a short adjournment. That's after the interview of the acting judge in the Supreme Court of Appeal, Judge Govan wrapped up, and it was an interview that had a range of different questions, not only interrogating the soundness of the judgments by Judge Govan, but also getting her position on a number of topical issues such as gender parity and transformation in the judiciary. She also commented on the effectiveness of sentences in dissuading future offenders, and was asked by Commissioner Julius Malema about her position on decolonization. But with regards to the soundness of her judgment, she was questioned regarding the unanimous overturning of one of her judgments, and at that point wasn't able to answer satisfactorily to the Commissioner, but was also engaged in a debate with the acting president of the Supreme Court of Appeal regarding some of the more technical aspects of her judgments. She was also questioned on her ability to write judgments herself. Of course, she had submitted a number of judgments here, most of them co-authored with a number of other judgments. But one of the issues that have dominated the lead-up to these JSC interviews has been whether or not we'd see reform in the process and whether or not the criteria for appointing the judges would be refined. There was some expectation around this, and joining me to discuss some of it is Mbegazeli Benjamin. He's a researcher at Judges Matter. Thank you so much for your time, Mbegazeli. So there was some expectation regarding the criteria. Just tell us what that was, and in the end, what was the decision or lack of a decision communicated by the JSC?
So you'll remember in the April interviews and even going back as far as the Chief Justice interviews, there was a lot of criticism of the JSC in terms of the process, the kinds of questions that were asked, and the kind of behavior that we saw from the commissioners themselves. A lot of people were asking, what is it that the JSC is looking for in asking these questions? Are they trying to figure out whether these people are able to do the job of judging? And so from that, the JSC committed itself in April that it will reform its processes. The big thing, like you said, was on criteria, that they will decide on the key qualities that they will be looking for, and they'll write them down and announce them. So in this interview, that was the expectation to come out of it. And unfortunately, today, the JSC met in the morning, but there was no announcement about the outcomes of that meeting. And so we still don't know what the JSC is looking for, and we saw this in the interview. It was a bit all over the show, to put it quite bluntly. And so that is still a concern for us. The JSC doesn't seem to be focused on what it is that it is trying to look for in these candidates.
What does that mean for the selection or the JSC's ability to select an appropriate candidate? We saw questions about gender parity, questions about sentences, questions about judicial philosophy being put to the candidate for the Supreme Court of Appeal position, and they seemed to try to get an overview of what the position of the candidate is, Judge Govan. But do you think it assists the JSC in appointing someone to that position?
So each interview is allocated 40 minutes, and in that 40 minutes, they are supposed to cover those interviews, those questions, the candidate's knowledge of the law, their general judicial philosophy, their general performance. And in those 40 minutes, they are supposed to be satisfied about the ability of the candidate. In this interview, we spent 2 hours, and at some point, the interview didn't seem to be about the ability of the candidate or her knowledge and experience, but it was more about other issues that do not relate to her ability. So it then tells you that there is still a problem in the system and in how the JSC is questioning the candidates and what it is that it is trying to get out of the candidates.
Thank you so much. That's Mbegazeli Benjamin, researcher at Judges Matter. After the lunch break, it will be Judge Govan in the hot seat, and we expect to bring you some of the highlights from from that interview as soon as they wrap. It's back to you for now.
Right, Govan Whittles, let's leave it there for now.